Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching our in-depth video review of the Microsoft Surface Pro 2. So it's been over 9 months since the launch of the original Surface Pro, and we're finally getting its successor in the Surface Pro 2. Now when we first look at it, it's identical to its predecessor from the choice materials, the design, the chassis. Everything's the same, but of course, being the successor and all, it sees some updated hardware under the hood. And on top of that, we know that it is more like an ultrabook or notebook based on the parts that's using inside. And as for a tablet, it is heavier, bulkier than most others out there, but then again, it's kind of that hybrid device between tablets and notebooks. So here's the new Microsoft Surface Pro 2, and just like its predecessor, the design is pretty modern looking, but for the most part, nothing different that we've seen with last year's model. The same exact look down to the overall size, dimensions, and even weight. Honestly, we were hoping to see a more compact Surface Pro 2 this time around. As a tablet, it's still quite beefy and definitely heavy, very cumbersome to use and hold. But as far as a laptop or an ultrabook is concerned, it's pretty much one of the more compact things out there. Staying true to its predecessor, this tablet actually employs the same choice of materials. It's a magnesium composite casing, kind of gives it a very sturdy feel and great construction too. It's commonly referred to as vapor mag. It has a very subtle soft touch finish to it, and of course does a decent job of, when it comes to masking smudges and fingerprints. And just like before, we have angle cutouts around the sides, which has been a staple of the Surface series here. But when you hold it in the hand, it feels rather sharp just because of the corners here. Overall, there's nothing new with the design of the Surface Pro 2. It's identical to its predecessor, which is a good and bad thing at the same time. For a tablet, of course, it's beefy. For a laptop, notebook, it's pretty compact. We definitely like that modern design. Still has a nice edge to it, and the construction is fantastic. But even though they've had 9 months to improve upon this device, we were hoping to see a slimmer profile. There's no change to the display with this one here. Same exact one from before. It's a 10.6 inch 1080p IPS LCD panel, so its resolution stands at 1920 by 1080 pixels. Honestly, we don't have any complaints about the display. It's just sharp looking thanks to its high resolution. So 1080p for things like surfing the web, it's great just because in combination with Microsoft's own homebrewed ClearType rendering technology, it just makes for some really nice sharp looking text. So everything's nice and crisp in terms of details. Likewise, the color reproduction of the display is just superb. It's lively, it's rich, it's saturated, it has a nice glow to it, and with outdoor usage, it's still more than visible thanks to its strong brightness output and pretty wide viewing angles, so there's very minimal distortion with this display. So it's not the largest display, nor does it have the highest resolution, but nevertheless, we're pretty pleased by the display here on the Surface Pro 2. It has all the quality elements you want in a display, great details, sharp looking colors, and good outdoor visibility, so we can't complain too much about it. Since it has the same design from before, it still features things like the start button below its display. And seeing that it has the same body as the Surface Pro from last year, it features all the same ports and buttons around its sides. So it includes things like the mini display port for video out functionality. You have the magnetic docking connection there for the power. You have the micro SD card slot. You have a dedicated power button up top. It's very distinctive, raised and good responsive feel. Microphone up top as well. And on the other side down here, you have the 3.5mm headset jack, the volume controls, a full-size USB 3.0 port, and on the bottom you have these pin connectors and these notches here, which are magnetic, and it's used to actually work in conjunction with the Touch and Type 2 cover keyboards. One new improvement found with the tablet that we really adore is found with the kickstand. Now this year's model, there are two angle options. You have this one here and of course a wider one like so. Now with this particular angle, it's great because it makes for a better experience when using the tablet in our lap along with the Touch and Type keyboards. It's just great because it doesn't feel like it's going to fall over. Unfortunately, there's no love given to any of the cameras on the Surface Pro 2. They're the same exact ones from last year. So with the rear one, same paltry less than 1 megapixel camera. Its fixed focus offers only 720p. We were hoping to see some sort of bump or some new camera gear in tow with it. So both the optional keyboards for the Surface Pro 2 get updated this year. The neat thing about them, both the Touch and Type Cover 2 keyboards, that they're thinner than their predecessors. But between the two, we'd still recommend using the Type Cover more than the Touch Cover, just because it replicates that desktop-like experience with a normal keyboard. So you have physical keys that have good tactility with it. And with this year's model here, it offers some amount of backlighting, so you can continue using it even in the dark. Unfortunately, neither new keyboards are smart keyboards, so basically if you close them over, they don't turn on or turn off the display. They're just meant to actually protect the screen from getting any scratches as you're carrying them along with you. Along for the ride is, of course, the updated Windows 8.1 experience, and we gotta say, we definitely like the direction it's going. There are enough enhancements made to the experience to really show its growth and its development. So here at the start screen, very familiar with all the live tiles that aggregates a bunch of different information. At the same time, you can still get that traditional Windows look if you go into desktop mode, but I'm gonna quickly go through some of the cool things about it. First, let's talk about the start screen. Now, for the most part, the visual presentation here remains mostly the same. You have your dynamic live tiles that aggregate a bunch of different information, but this time around, there's a little bit more control in terms of organization. So basically, if you swipe up like so, you could do the customize, you could name the groups, you could sort them. The other cool thing is that now there are a bunch of different options in terms of sizes for the live tiles. You could actually set it for different sizes, up to 4, but it depends on the application itself. Now, one of the biggest things to come back to the Windows experience is found with the desktop mode. Of course, here you get that familiar look, and this is where you can run all the legacy application software that you're normally accustomed to using on any Windows PC. But if you look close in the bottom left corner, you have a start button, which is great to see there, just because last year people were a little bit confused. But unfortunately, though, it doesn't do the typical thing you normally expect it to do. Instead, it just brings you back to the start screen. It's already established that Windows 8.1 is superior in the multitasking department over other tablet platforms out there, but with Windows 8.1, they've kind of enhanced it even more just because it offers better snapping between two applications. So say, for example, I have the web browser running and I want to run the Twitter application. I could just drag it over here, automatically will plop it into place like so, and this offers more of a customized feel with the snapping here. So you could either have it half and half, so they take up the same majority of space on the display. You could have one larger than the other, and it's just nice that automatically will resize the applications themselves. The search service with Windows 8.1 has also been enhanced. So this time around, it aggregates a bunch of different content, both locally and also in the cloud. So say, for example, I'm just going to type in PhoneArena right here, hit enter. From here, it's going to populate a bunch of different content from the internet and even stored locally on the device itself. It's kind of weird not finding core organizer apps like a calculator or an alarm clock with the Surface Pro last year, but it seems as though Microsoft has remedied that. They've included all those core organizer apps you'd expect to find. For example, a calculator, calendar, alarm clock. You even have secondary things like a food and drink service right here. You could browse different recipes along with a health and fitness one as well. Overall, we gotta say we're pretty happy with what Microsoft has done with the Windows 8.1 experience. It's not a dramatic upgrade, but still there are enough enhancements to really give it a well-rounded feel. It's superior when it comes to the multitasking aspect, and of course, at heart, it is a desktop platform here, so you have the power of that going for it, unlike some of the other tablet OSs out there, which doesn't really quite seem ample for power users. Even though it's a tablet, the Surface Pro 2 is packing gear more akin to an Ultrabook or laptop. It's powered by a dual-core 4th generation Intel Core i5 processor clocked in 1.6 GHz. It's coupled by 4 GB of RAM, the Intel HD 4400 GPU, and in our particular model, it's actually a 128 GB solid-state hard drive, and its performance is very responsive and speedy. It's something you'd expect with this type of processor, and combine that with the desktop platform of Windows 8.1, it's just magnificent in the way it moves and handles pretty much all operations with ease. There's several ways to type up messages here with the tablet. Of course, you can rely on the physical keyboards you could purchase separately, but if you're gonna go with the on-screen option, your best bet's gonna be with the landscape one, just because it's more than spacious for our two hands to use. It's super responsive and also features great autocorrect. As an alternative, you could use a split style keyboard, which is pretty handy when it comes to portrait usage, though it kind of feels kind of weird just because of how heavy the tablet is. And finally, you could also rely on the handwriting recognition, which relies on the included pressure-sensitive stylus. It's a little bit more tedious, to tell you the truth. As always, when it comes to surfing the web, you have Internet Explorer available with the Surface Pro 2. Now, just like last year, there are two options. You have the touch-friendly version right here, which works very well, and you also have the desktop one. Both are more than usable just because they are desktop web browsers, so you're going to get speedy page loads. You have really nice sharp looking visuals, very smooth navigational controls, so there's a lot to like. And of course, being a desktop platform, you could also install various web browsers like Chrome or Firefox. So the Music Hub has been rebranded. Now it's referred to as the Xbox Music. So here, you could actually do a bunch of stuff. You could obviously play your songs, but you could also explore different content. There's also a radio feature if you want to do that. And the overall presentation style is pretty pleasant. We like the way it looks. It still has a very dynamic look to it, especially as the song's being played. The cool thing about it, you're going to have access to the selection of songs on the right side. And as the song's playing, it's going to aggregate content related to that, like album covers and even pictures of the related artist or band. As far as the audio quality of the speaker, we gotta say we're quite pleased with it. It's crisp, it's clear, and it's pretty strong and potent, so we're definitely liking it. Likewise, the Xbox Video Hub has the same premise. It aggregates all the content that's stored on the tablet so you can view in all your videos here. It has support for a wide array of codecs. On top of that, you have the ability to either purchase or rent content if you want. And when it comes to the performance, the kickstand really helps to giving us that hands-free experience, and high definition videos look fantastic with the display, of course, being 1080p and all. Naturally, we're glad to see that many aspects of the platform have been enhanced, but when it comes to the camera app, unfortunately, there's no love this time around. It's still the same boring basic one from as before. The only manual control that you have is adjusting the exposure, but that's pretty much it. It's bare bones, lacks any decent shooting modes, and of course, only one manual control. We're still not sold on the whole thing about taking photos with the tablet, but at least give us some decent cameras to take the photos with as a worst case scenario. Now with the Surface Pro 2, unfortunately that's not the case. Same camera arsenal from before, so what you get is just some really poor looking images. Very light when it comes to details, almost non-existent. On top of that, colors seem to be a little bit on the bland side, and it really doesn't work in lower lighting conditions. It's very blurry, speckled looking, and something that's just really disappointing. Say that we're disappointed by its still image quality. We're not holding our breath when it comes to the 720p video recording quality of the Surface Pro 2. And just like its still image quality, it is just abysmal. Details are non-existent, very faint, a lot of artifacting when you're panning. The exposure is super slow too, and in lower lighting conditions, it drops its frame rate all the way to a choppy 14 frames per second. So it tends to show a lot of blurring. The only thing going for it is probably the audio recording. It's at least clear and decent. Impressively, it goes to show what that 4th generation Intel Core i5 processor is able to do. The battery life is superb, especially knowing that it has PC-like parts running inside of its body. Now with the Surface Pro 2, we're able to easily get close to the 8-hour mark, so if you're a power user, you'll especially love it. If you're a light casual user, you'll get close to that 1 day of usage, which is pretty good considering the fact what it's packing inside. There's no arguing that the Surface Pro 2 is the type of device for power users. We know that there's some limitations with other tablet OSs out there. For example, the iPad, it's not quite on the same level of productivity you get on a traditional PC, but that's where the Surface Pro 2 comes into mind, just because it bears all the elements that you love on a PC, but in that tablet form factor. At the end of the day though, we still got to think about pricing, and the Surface Pro 2 starts at the base price point of $800 for the 64GB version. Now our review unit here is the 128GB model, and this one retails for $1,000. You add in another $130 for the Microsoft Type 2 keyboard, so you're looking at spending roughly $1,130 just to pick up this particular tandem. Now that's a hefty tally you're going to spend. That's really expensive when you think about tablets in general, but it's proven itself to be more like a PC PC than anything else, just because for productivity, this is far more usable than say any other Android tablet or even the iPad has to offer. But if you're still gonna pay that amount, we could still recommend a whole lot of other options for you. Other Ultrabook tablets that have far more ports, bigger screens than the Surface Pro 2, and might prove to be more valuable than this. So if you guys want to learn more about the Microsoft Surface Pro 2 tablet, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.